Well, the snow is starting to disappear. I began to think about that as I thought about the number of times that the public servants drive that snowplow up and down my road in a given winter. I wish somehow I had kept track of that, because again and again and again, whenever the weather had turned nasty, there they would come, up the hill and back down the hill. Sometimes more than once a day, depending on what the weather was. I think about the hours that those who drive those vehicles must put in when they start their day and when they end their day, while we're all nicely tucked in bed early in the wee hours of the morning. You sometimes will hear that vehicle go by, knowing that their sole and only purpose is to prepare a way. A way for what? A way for you to get to the store, a way for you to get to work, a way for you to go somewhere from where you are to a destination you have in mind. That's their only purpose as they do this, to prepare a way. I thought about that especially as I began to think about God at work in and through Jesus Christ. For God's purpose has only one goal in mind, and that is to prepare a way. A way for what? Well, the scripture reminds us that the way that God is at work in Jesus Christ is intended to prepare a way for us to get the most out of life. If you stop and think about that a minute, Jesus interfaced with so many different kinds of situations in his public ministry, always with the idea that whatever he did or said was designed to prepare a way to get the most out of life. And he ministered to people in a variety of situations and circumstances, but always with that one goal in mind, to prepare the way. He also had in mind that he is preparing a way for us to enter into an eternal kingdom. It isn't always just about this life that Jesus has some expression of God's work in his life. For Jesus, if he had not trusted that God was at work in him, not only for him to get the best out of his life as he ministered to people, but with the assurance that in the fullness of his time, there was also an eternal kingdom. And that was really the heart and soul of the message of Jesus. Time and time again, not only did he touch us where we live and move, exist every single day of our lives, but also touched us in such a way that our spirits might soar beyond the confines of this world with the sure knowledge that God does have a place prepared for each and every one of us. You know, devotion is one of the hallmarks of being a Christian. Because it isn't just that God is at work in Jesus Christ preparing a way. If you stop to think about it, God is at work in and all of those of us who claim to be disciples of Jesus Christ, preparing a way. All that we say and all that we do has a potential far beyond what we might imagine what we say and do has. Because we never know when a single word can make the difference for someone to begin a new journey that helps them to embrace life in a different way. We never know whether a deed we perform will actually be that moment when someone understands that God truly cares and God is at work in their lives for their good. Sometimes we don't know that, but it still doesn't keep us from being devoted to the cause and the purpose for which God has called us into being. We are a called people. Could the Apostle Paul not just have written the letters that he wrote, but endure the kinds of things that he endured as a follower of Jesus Christ, if he had not had a sense of devotion to what God had called him to be and do? People he had known all his life rejected him and pushed him away. They thought he was a traitor to what he had been raised to be and do. He describes himself in the New Testament as a Pharisee of the Pharisees. He knew the law inside and out. But somehow his encounters with Jesus Christ had planted a different kind of seed, and that awareness began to grow and take shape in such a way that the Damascus Road experience happened, and it was as if a bright light had dawned on him. And from that moment forward, his devotion to the cause of Christ occupied his every waking hour. These letters are simply a reflection of what that was all about. As he tried to speak a word or share a word with young Christians as they entered into a faithful relationship with Christ, to remain steady and sure in their spiritual journey. That's exactly what Jesus Christ was trying to proclaim as he worked with that select group of disciples and many others, because the scripture reminds us that disciples were not just 12 people. There were as many as 500 at one time who gathered around and with whom he shared a word or actually did something that encouraged them to be those kinds of living witnesses the scripture talks about. I was watching a documentary that talked about a particular business that is a nonprofit that serves the needs of people in third world countries. And they were asked what was the story of their success, because they not only raised money for the project, but they raised money separately for overhead. And isn't that what our church does? All of our money that goes for UMCOR is a separate amount of money. But one of the things this person said that makes their success is they have people who tell the story. Think about that for a moment. When people become so convinced by what God has done in their lives that they can actually put words and actions to what God is at work doing, it becomes a way of telling the story. And if it comes out of a sense of devotion and commitment and integrity, it will bear fruit. All we have to do sometimes, friends, is plant a seed. Now we're approaching that season of the year when many of us will, in fact, turn the soil over and will plant seeds. And we expect that something will happen, that they won't just lie dormant there forever, that somehow they will be nurtured in such a way that they begin to produce what we hope we will be seeing. Well, friends, isn't that what God is at work doing in us? If we have received anything from Jesus Christ, if our lives have been touched in renewing ways, if our hope is not in this world only, then we have received, and God is asking us to share that story. One of the sad things about our culture is, and I can remember so many people saying, there are two things you never talk about: money and religion. Why? Why? If God has touched your life in a way that has made it a different life, why would you not want to talk about that when it's appropriate? Nobody's asking you to beat somebody over the head with it. But if it is significant enough to have changed your life, is it not significant enough to talk about when the opportunity is appropriate and the door is open? Why do we hold to ourselves the good news as if it were some kind of private experience? It was never meant to be that. It was always meant to be an event that not only touched us and changed us, but gave us voice and behaviors that the world so desperately needs. Think of all the places, not just in our small area of the world, but around this whole world, who need someone to tell the story. Because the minute you put words to what Jesus Christ has done for you, or for words that I use about what Christ has done for me, it's also an act of devotion. devotion. It's also a way of saying, this has mattered in my life. I want it to matter in your life as well. So we need not to be silent. That's the most unfortunate of ways to deal with the love and the grace of God. Didn't Jesus Christ say, love one another even as I have loved you? How do you do that? How do you do that? If you are not prepared to actually be a loving person, if you're always negative and looking on the downside or the dark side of life, are you truly getting the message that Christ has tried to proclaim to us? We live in hope, in the sure hope that we have an eternal destination. We are living in the sure hope that even in this moment, God is with us. So why would we remain silent? Why would we step away from opportunities that are before us to do the thing that God is asking us to do? Well, we know that the scripture I read from Mark this morning is the story of well-intentioned people. They had seen and heard amazing things in their journey with Jesus. And right up until the last moment, they were so convinced that they had it all together and they were going to do the right thing. And then, under the threat and peril of the powers of this world, they fled into the night and they actually denied the Christ. Friends, unless we are rooted and grounded, how will we ever say what needs to be said in a kind and loving and caring way? Or will we ever be prepared to do that deed that makes a difference for another person? Jesus Christ understood. Now it's fortunate for us that those disciples, because of the love of Jesus Christ, were able to renew their devotion and their commitment to Jesus Christ. Those opportunities are before us all the time. When we stumble, when we slip, when we back away, it's not the end of the story. Because God isn't going to give up on us. Once we have experienced the grace and the love of God, no matter what we do, God is always trying to say, come back. Understand that I'm not here to punish. I'm not here to point a finger at you. I am here to extend the hand to bring you back again to me. Is that not the way we need to live in the world? That's what devotion is really about. And so as God in Jesus Christ was devoting himself to us for our good, preparing the way. You know, Advent season has always been a wonderful season for me. And when I was the pastor at Horseheads, they had a custom there that I have missed all the years that I have been gone from that church. But they had a tenor who would stand at the back of the church and on the first Sunday of Advent, without accompaniment, would sing, "Prepare ye the way of the Lord." And as he sang that, he would come down the midst of the congregation into the chancel area. It was a moving moment because it was a reminder that Jesus Christ was coming into the world. And that through Jesus Christ, a way would be prepared for each and every one of us. Can we do less for one another? By word and by deed, tell the story.